Okay, let's talk some NFL real quick here before we get to the slew of guests. One, about that last winless team and last undefeated team. 3 current undefeated, just 3 weeks through the NFL season. 3 remaining undefeated teams at 3-0, and only 4 winless teams at 0-3. And the 4 winless teams, they're all playing each other this week. So let's start with the last undefeated, if we could, Kelley. You want to start last winless? Let's start with, freaking me out. All right, last undefeated. We'll go there. Sorry, guys. I apologize. That was my fault. 49ers, Eagles, and Dolphins, all 3-0. The Niners at plus 130 are the short shot. The Eagles at plus 175. And the Dolphins at plus 275. Now, the reason for this is because the Dolphins are an underdog this week at Buffalo. So that makes sense that they would be the long shot here. Now, by the way, if somehow they got through that, then they would have home Giants, home Carolina before having to travel to Philly.
Right, which is big for this market.
Could be the game to decide it all. Although, again, here's the schedule for the Eagles. Home Washington, at the Rams, at the Jets before that home game against Miami. Whereas San Francisco, home Arizona, home Dallas, at Cleveland, at Minnesota. So I think Philly is probably the correct short shot there. It doesn't make me want to run and bet it because it's not that juicy at this point. I'm not involved in this market. But I think they ought to be the short shot if we're just being correct about this. You?
Wait, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I didn't think about this enough last night. Yeah, that is because those 2 teams should be flipped.
They should be flipped because the second game and the third game here moving forward after they play Arizona, in other words, San Francisco's got home Dallas and at Cleveland, whereas Philly's got home Washington, at the Rams, at the Jets. Miami, meanwhile, has to get over the Buffalo.
And I don't really care what, like, we're going to get to our power rankings at some point in the show. I don't really care what anybody thinks about the 49ers or the Eagles. That's just an easier path for the Eagles.
Just an easier path. Let's go to, so again, that's, just to note that.
I'm going to bet that if I can find it at the one shop that might offer it here in town.
Last winless team. As you know, if you listen to this show, I have a pre-flop play on the Panthers.
That's the reason I wanted to talk about this. I just want to know what your thoughts are on this.
I have them at 15-1 for a good chunk of change.
Okay.
Currently, again, this week, as the fates would have it, it's amazing. The last 4 winless teams, they play 2 games. So if you're holding a ticket here, what you're hoping is that the other game does not result in a tie, because that still means both would be winless.
Yeah.
And again, check the wording on yours. But winless is usually how these are phrased. It's phrased that way at DraftKings. It's phrased that way here at Circa. So the Bears currently are plus 150. My Panthers in this market are plus 175. The Vikings are plus 350. The Broncos are 6-1. Now, why? Because the Vikings are favored at the Panthers, and the Broncos are favored at the Bears, both by 3.5 points precisely. So the markets are telling you, the Bears and the Panthers are absolutely the short shots. Let's say, Kelley, that holds true. Let's say that holds true. Then Carolina would go at Detroit, at Miami, bye. The bye is a free bingo square in this whole thing.
Yep.
Whereas Chicago, after this game against Denver, would go at Washington, home Minnesota, and then while the Panthers have a bye, they would be home Raiders.
Okay.
So, now that, by the way, just if you're curious, Denver and Minnesota would have to host Kansas City the next week and then go to Chicago. Denver, after going to Chicago, would host the Jets and have to go to Kansas City.
This is a great market. What an early season. This is such a great market.
The reason that I made this bet was twofold. One, we got cleaned out on the NFL draft. The NFL draft is something we win every year until this year. Yeah. And the reason that we lost is because I just couldn't believe that the Panthers would actually take Bryce Young number 1 at his height. Love the kid. Great kid. And so far through 3 weeks, it looks like so far we've been corroborated that it should have been C.J. Stroud, right?
It's just so hard to be bitter about that when it's someone making a decision.
But this is the drift from that, which is I looked at Carolina's schedule and I'm like, how are they 15-1 when before that bye hits, they could lose all of these? And so far, so good. Obviously, this is a bit of a hurdle because we know with Minnesota can lay an egg at any point. This could be over by Monday. But, by the way, after the bye, then it gets super easy for Carolina. Home Houston, home Indianapolis. It gets a little easier. Indianapolis, I shouldn't perhaps say super easy, but it's home Houston. But it's home Houston anyway. So the point was, the whole goal was to win it by the bye, if not the bye week. And right now, it's kind of manifesting that way. I need for the Raiders to cooperate perhaps that bye week. Do you believe that the Vikings and the Broncos will win those games this weekend? Who knows, right?
I believe the Vikings will because I already bet it.
I do too.
The other one, who the hell knows?
The thing about it, I can conflate my Survivor and my last winless by taking the Vikings and just being super happy or super sad this week.
You can double
for
down
both
on
of these? Yeah.
I'm just looking at this. I don't think the Panthers win a game until maybe that Bears matchup. Week 10.
You mean the you think they even lose to Houston?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, I will say they're not winning till at least then. So I'm thinking 0-6 and then a bye, which was the whole bet from the beginning. Right? Because it's like, I don't think he's any good. And that's why when Andy Dalton got in last week, I'm like, oh, no. Stop messing with my plans here.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
So
they got so many injuries now in the secondary, too.
The current prices, again, real quick on that, it's not sexy enough to play now, though, is it? Because they're both short of $2. So it's not like I would jump in now to do that on either
Me either,
of those.
but I'm going to bet that Eagles one if I can find it.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.